Hey, what's going on, roleplay? It's just that Bard here, and welcome back to the corner. So we've got another viewer request today. Hey Bard, how would you build a PC to simulate the X-Men's Rogue? Have a new player ask me how to do this and I am lost, but I hate to say it is impossible. It is impossible. Oh, that's some tasty bait. Yeah, that is some tasty bait. Careful guys, we've got some Machiavellian level manipulation going on here. Do you know what? I'm up for this. And the weird thing is just a couple of days before I got this comment, no word of a lie, I actually picked up X-Men Destiny again and started playing it. It's almost like he read my mind?
You look nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs.
Seems like I got Professor X catfishing me through my comments. So if I don't want to find my brains bleeding through my ears, I guess I better do this build. Okay, so what else has my guy got to say for himself? My first idea is to multi-class Fiendlock, 1 level and 2 levels Necromancer, which could simulate the draining of vitality to increase her hit points or temporary hit points when they go down. Yep, good point. But the only other feature I can see that lends itself well to her abilities is the Spell Thief feature from the Arcane Trickster at level 17. To be honest, that was what I thought too. My initial thought was to go straight for the powers and how can I replicate them. But I thought about it a little bit more and I thought it's just not good enough. It just doesn't have the flair or the character. So I did a little bit of research. So I pulled up the Rogue's wiki and I saw the obvious: superhuman strength and flight. And then absorption of abilities, but this really caught my attention. Absorption of memories, personality, and physical characteristics of others via touch. Absorption of memories and personalities, that's something I can really work with, especially within 5ed's current rule system. This character has a ton of charisma, and that's where I want to start, with a charisma-based class. So let's go from there. Since the character is human, you're going to want to start off with something like Tavern Brawler, and this will be the most useful feat in my opinion because of the way it's going to interact with unarmed attacks and the use of improvised weapons. 17 levels of Spell Thief is just far too high. You know me, I like to have practical builds around the mid-levels. So I'm going to go with 6 levels of Whisper Bard and 6 levels of Wild Magic Sorcerer. So one of the earliest abilities for the Whisper Bard is Psychic Blades, which allows you to spend your Bardic Inspiration in order to get additional damage on your weapon attacks. Now we're going to keep it PG here. Most of the characters tend to use non-lethal means, or at least use their powers in such a way as to diffuse the situation, as opposed to actually causing too much direct harm. So Tavern Brawler is going to be a good choice along with Psychic Blades because you get to have improvised weapons, allowing you to pick up objects and use that, as well as being able to increase the amount of damage that you're doing with them. Whenever Rogue's in any kind of combat situation, for the most part, she's picking up things like cars and boulders and throwing those at the villains. So you're not really going to be allowed to have super strength in the game because it's going to unbalance everything. But you can at least try to emulate it through the use of some additional dice of damage. So Psychic Blades is a really good way of getting around that. Mantle of Whispers is the other reason I wanted to go Whisper Bard, because whenever a humanoid dies within 30 feet of you, you can magically capture its shadow using your reaction. This allows you to have a disguise for up to an hour, but the really important thing is you get access to all the information that the humanoid would freely share with a casual acquaintance, so such information like general details on its background and personal life. So it gives you some of the personality which we discussed earlier. The information that you have is enough to pass yourself off as the creature by drawing on its memories, actually absorbing some of its personality, and I thought that was really appropriate when it came to building this character. Remember guys that bards of all stripes get expertise, and you want to make use of your skills as much as you can, because the character isn't purely about the powers. Consider the social skills: deception, persuasion, performance, things like that really give your character a sense of flair and style. The reason to go into Sorcerer is to get a couple of specific spells really. However, you don't even need to go into Sorcerer if you don't want to. You could indeed just go all the way to level 10 as a Whisper Bard and then pick up magical secrets for the extra spells that you're going to want. But I just want to run this one past you. If you were to drain a really powerful or ancient mutant, someone like Apocalypse or Onslaught, then chances are you wouldn't be able to have full control over that power. In fact, I know for a fact that if you had a sudden rush of immense power like that, it would overwhelm the senses, and you wouldn't have total control. and I think the occasional wild surge can really help to represent that aspect as well. Likewise, if you're draining people's abilities, draining their emotions, draining their personalities, you're going to have so much more of an advantage when it comes to attacking or making skills or having saving throws, because you just have access to certain defenses and certain abilities that you wouldn't normally be entitled to. Tides of Chaos is a great way for you to gain temporary power boosts like you would from draining other creatures. Additionally, if your DM is invested in your Wild Surge abilities, the more you use it, the more chances you have to roll a Wild Surge. So it's tempting fate, isn't it? The more you try and drain other people of their powers, the more those ideas can get muddled up, the powers flood your mind, too many memories, too many personalities all acting at once, and then you just lose control. I think it's a really great narrative ability as well as a good practical and mechanical one. Of course, you can take your character in any direction you want, but I would highly recommend considering the benefits of wild magic sorcery. So of course you want to be able to fly, so your sorcerer levels are going to get you that ability. Furthermore, however, you're going to want some additional powers in order to represent Rogue more fully, so I think these are the ones you want to be considering. So guys, first and foremost, Absorb Elements. It's going to give you some resistance to damage, and it's going to improve the amount of damage that you can do. It's absolutely a no-brainer. It should be in your list. Don't forget guys, you can use this in higher level slots, giving you more dice of damage that you can use against your opponents. Bard gets access to enhanced abilities, so use it to get advantage on the ability checks of your choice. Again, another great representation of draining others' abilities for your own personal use. At the same time, Rogue is super strong, so having the ability to just consistently make strength checks is a good representation of all that strength, because you're not failing those strength rolls as often because of the amount of advantage that you're getting. Additionally, your carrying capacity is doubled, which allows you to pick up really heavy objects, boulders, heavy barrels, or anything else that you can think of, and use them to throw at enemies. So if you want to be chucking people off of cliffs, or hurling boulders towards them, or any kind of flashy cinematic stuff like that, then I say go for it. It's so much more enjoyable than just waiting for your turn, rolling to hit, and doing some damage. Really make a show of it. When it comes to just plain knocking out other people's powers, Dispel Magic is a really good choice. Again, you're going to be able to make use of this a lot because it represents the fact that when Rogue takes someone's powers, they don't have access for them for the duration. Whole Person could represent a good choice. Any character that actually comes into contact with Rogue could get knocked out, and thus would be basically paralyzed for the duration of that spell. Of course your character can fly, so you want to pick it up as soon as you have enough sorcerer levels to be able to do so. Fly is and probably always will be one of the most tactically advantageous spells in your arsenal, so make sure you're flying around the battlefield all the time. For me though, the absolute best choice has to be Bestow Curse. Now because you're going to be a full casting progression in both Bard and Sorcerer, you use the multi-class spell casting slot table. So you'll have up to 6th level slots by this time. Whenever you put Bestow Curse in a 5th level or higher slot, there is no concentration on the spell. And it's a spell that can do anything and everything you need it to. Use it to stun, paralyze, or incapacitate your enemies. Use it to confuse them and make them not be able to take any proper actions. Or if your DM allows, maybe you can even use it to drain some of their memories and some of their thoughts as well. Just be creative with it. See what your DM will allow, and really make use of this ability as much as you can. Since you have free access to this spell on the Bard list, and you have enough high level slots to be able to use it without having to concentrate on it, you want to be casting it all the time. You might want to consider going for Extend for some of your Metamagic. You want to make full use of Enhance ability as often as you can for as long as you can, so it's a very, very good choice. Additionally, if you decide to extend an 8-hour duration on Bestow Curse from the 5th level slot, you're going to get an absolutely massive amount of incapacitation on a single target. Enough that you can actually drag it off and do pretty much anything you want to it whilst you've got it in that paralyzed state. Also, there are very few defenses against Rogue's ability, so you might want to consider Heightened Spell. Get disadvantage on those attacks as often as you can, and really make those curses stick. If you want to advance your Whisper Bard level up to level 10, then you can use your magical secrets to get hold of Vampiric Touch. That way you can start draining people of their life and start adding it to your own hit point total. Finally, if you've got some sorcery points to spare, make use of the Bend Luck ability as the 6th level wild sorcerer. If it wasn't enough to drain people down to the point where they're getting disadvantage on either attacks or saving throws, then being able to just drain away those last few bits of bonuses that they do have, it's just icing on the cake, isn't it? Well, you asked how I would build Rogue, and that is how I would do it. Guys, I want you to know that there is no such thing as impossible when it comes to D&D. Your imagination is the only limit. You can build anything that you want. The tools are there, you just need to know where to look. However, building characters isn't always easy. Some people just aren't numerically minded. So if you've got the idea for the character, but you just want someone to run the numbers for you, then stick a comment down in the section below, and I'll have a look at it and try and build that character for you. Also be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time at the gaming table.